Welcome to the 58th episode of the Revolutionary Code, where we bring you the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America, Africa, and the diaspora. I am your host, Brother Tamani M1 Downey out of Houston, Texas. I am the direct revolutionary product of one Cardinal and Bayou Chewy out of the Shrines of the Black Madonna, and the indirect revolutionary product of one Albert B. Clegg, African title and name, Jaramogi Baby Hajiman, the father of liberation theology. I am also the founder of the Black Gold Nation movement. My co-host is Brother Craig B. Lee, the National Director of Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Gold Nation, also the chairman of LACE, Liberation Advocates for Community Empowerment, the intellectual gangster, corporate grassroots revolutionary, and master domino assassin from Shreveport, Louisiana, aka The Boot. Brother Craig, how you doing this evening?
I am Irie after hearing my Robert Nesta Marley War. So I'm in my Jamaican mode by Boom the Clock.
That needs to be our anthem every morning we wake up. As a reminder of what this thing is really about and how our day should roll. This is war. So that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our people to realize that we are most certainly at war. And until our people are treated equally, until our people are treated like everybody else, until there is equality, equity across the board, we are going to fight until we get what's ours, what we deserve, what we owe. And of course, we're not going to get that if we don't engage ourselves in this war. So everything we do is about bringing our people together to find the right people, because only the right people can make this thing happen. We are not just here to inform and educate. We are trying to get everyone who sees the recording, who watches us live, to do something. We want to inform, educate, motivate, mobilize, organize, and build. We are about building power for our people because we don't have any. And that is why what happens to us happens, because we don't have the power to stop it. The title of tonight's show is Gerrymandering, Redlining, and Gentrification. The many games they play to take, maintain, and expand their power. Gerrymandering, redlining, and gentrification. The many games they play to take, maintain, and expand their power. So as I just said, and what I say in every presentation, what happens to our people happens because we don't have the power to stop it. That power is, of course, economic, educational, physical, agricultural, institutional, and of course, political. If we have political power, everything else becomes infinitely easier to do. Everything else is in play. But without political power, everything else is in jeopardy. And if we have any of those other powers, without political power, we will most certainly lose it. So we're going to start tonight's show. Whenever we have a show introducing relatively new terms to many of our people, we want to start with some definitions. So we're going to start with that first one, redlining. So question number one, Brother Craig, is what is redlining?
In short, a practice used by the architects, engineers, and managers of the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy to create financial inequities, primarily in the real estate market, in primarily African-American communities or other melanated groups in the United States. They mark those entities, our oppressors, draw a line, boundary around a particular neighborhood or neighborhoods, and it creates, this is going to denote the areas where no white investment will go. And so those entities now, primarily again, our people, primarily and other ethnic groups, are locked out of the ability to tap into real estate values, whether it be residential or commercial, and those, the equity that you could then tap into with your real estate property, whether it be residential or commercial, is not the same as it is in white communities. It's a process of being able to favor the majority ethnicity in America, which happens to be the European descendants, so that they can stay leveraging financial resources.
And is it used primarily just for real estate value in Black communities or against Black people, or is it used for other things as well?
I mean, other things spin off of it, but that's the main thing. Real estate and real estate investment and other financial investments. These would be the communities, neighborhoods that are redlined and they're hands off in terms of white investors and
investment capital.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right, number 2, what is gerrymandering? Which I found out, I learned tonight when I was doing a little research that it is actually Gerrymandering, because the guy's name is Gary. But yeah. Gerrymandering.
None of these terms they just come up with.
Sure. Yeah.
Like like the color red is like off limits. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not. And so, as you were just saying, this term by former Massachusetts Governor Elbridge Gerry goes back to the 1800s, where you're now creating, similar to redlining, you're creating boundaries to favor one political group over another. And so, again, that impacts us, but they do it to themselves as well, but definitely to African-American neighborhoods, communities, as well as other ethnic groups. And as I always tell people, if your vote didn't matter,
Come on.
if voting was not important, why would they go to these links?
And they do.
To prevent you from accessing governmental power in the political process if voting was not important. So gerrymandering is a process of creating lines, drawing boundary lines, split districts. They literally, political officials do this so they can eliminate any potential competition against them. Mm-hmm. And it's the craziest thing. So we have to be aware that this is what is going on. And this right now, we just had a redistricting meeting tonight. I wasn't able to attend, but we had that tonight at Louisiana State University here in Shreveport. But I went to the meeting on Tuesday night. That was a preliminary meeting getting ready for tonight. And this here, the white folks are like, we gonna make sure to the best of our ability, we can create as many advantages as possible. And this is why the census is so important. This is why where you live in your city is so important. And most of our people really just don't have a clue, where they select to live. I mean, they don't have a clue how all this impacts every facet of their lives. And so gerrymandering and redlining are those two primary things involving lines drawn that impacts us financially and politically, which all ties in together.
So that's a good point. The census, the numbers, who lives where, how many people live where, how people are moving around. That's extremely important, especially when it comes to funding. So briefly talk about the tie-in with the census and how when we don't participate, how that hurts us, especially when it comes to gerrymandering.
Well, the census numbers, and it's crazy when I hear Negroes who are already on food stamps and Section 8, no, this, I don't want the government in my business.
You on government assistance.
It's like, y'all really, something is wrong with y'all.
Mm.
They know your goddamn blood type. They know your girdle size. They know your goddamn shoe size. So you don't want to be counted when it ain't no money involved, but when it's money, you want your goddamn thing. The census is so important because it determines where federal dollars are going to be dispersed
Mm-hmm.
in various areas in a particular state. And if you are not counted, you now lose federal funds.
Right.
Your city, your county loses federal funds. The census is also used to attract real estate development, commercial development. So if you don't want to be counted, you're impacting your sales while simultaneously saying you want the redlining to stop and gerrymandering to stop, but your punk ass don't want to be counted. It's like the Negro is it's just strange.
Confused, extremely confused and ignorant.
Yeah, it's just strange. But the census, man, is tied to a lot of things, economically, politically, socially. I mean, various social programs. I mean, funding for Head Start. I mean, funding for your goddamn HBCUs. I mean, bruh, it's amazing.
So, what do you say to people who really believe that by not voting, you are going to get something or make some things happen? It's like there's so many of us who these people who they say they believe in nation building, in Black communities being better. They say they want all this stuff, but then they refuse to participate in the process by which that stuff can become a reality. What do you say to that kind of person or those kind of people?
Well, I tell them, first and foremost, it's like, brother, you don't understand, or sister, you don't understand the game, the philosophy, the system, and the game. Yes, you're correct that nothing has primarily happened other than some of the major laws that has given us some marginal freedom. Yes, you're correct. Not a lot has happened past that. But the reason a lot has not happened is not because something cannot happen, which gets back to something I just wanted to correct you on. When you began and you say, we do not have the power, we do have the power. It is just not, it has not been unlocked, unleashed, and activated. And that goes back to the song, to the powerful reggae song that Third World has, where they say, brother, you got the power to make a change. Sister, you got the power to rearrange. See, the power is already in us. It just hasn't been unlocked, unleashed, activated in order to be mobilized, organized, and galvanized. But the power is actually there. And so I let them know that we got the power if we would just, and it ain't a whole bunch of us that needs to do it, 35, 40%, if we would just mobilize, organize, galvanize ourselves, now we can put our team in play. So just imagine trying to run the 4x4 100 or 200 by yourself, and you got the Jamaicans running as a team.
Yeah.
This is the best that I can describe it. Punk ass you ain't trying to work with nobody. You ain't trying to get a team, but you up here, I believe I can fly. I believe God can do whatever I set my mind to. And you have to run 4 100s. You got a 4x4 100 is supposed to be 4 runners, each running 100 meters.
That's right.
With your best dude closing out.
That's right.
Which now equals a total of what? 400 meters.
400 meters. That's right.
Ain't no goddamn way you gonna run 400 meters in quick fashion against a hellacious team.
That's right.
And you don't ever add 3 other teammates.
Yep.
That's why we don't win. So it's like, brother, you're trying to compete in a race, but you don't understand, comprehend, and you're ill-equipped.
Yep.
That's why we keep on losing. Not that we can't win certain things in the game, but you're playing it all wrong.
Yeah.
But before you understand, comprehend, learn it, so you can then know it, you're already ready to talk about going back to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't never win. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. They keep on winning. Have you ever thought about trying to get Brother Tamani, slow ass, to help you run 100 of them damn meters? You know?
And what makes it even worse is that we don't even want to take time to learn how to run the race. And we don't realize that wherever you go, the race is ran there as well. So you're not going to run from the race, and until you learn how the race is ran, you're always going to lose. We're not even on the track.
Exactly. Look, man, one of the biggest lies, and I want everybody here to listen to me. And I sent this to Brother Tamani tonight. He probably can pull up the article that I sent to him on the HBCUs, and y'all real good, nice ass, liberal punk ass Democrats. One of the biggest lies that's told to Negroes and everybody who are these tree huggers is just one race, the human race. That's a goddamn lie.
Yeah.
Because the whole game of race is a race. It is a literal race for resources. And Tamani, if you can find that article,
yep.
I want you to pull that up so you can show them the Democrats are playing a violent game between African descendants and Latino descendants. And it's the article. He pitting the Latino Hispanic, their colleges against who? The goddamn HBCU. Now, when the hell did a Latino college get started? What, in the 80s, maybe the 90s, the 70s? Hell, it couldn't have been with us in the 1800s and whatnot, early 1900s. So when you read this article, and ironically, to one of my good supporters, that's my nickname that he calls me, Politico.
That's a good nickname.
He calls me Politico. But when you read that article, and tomorrow you share it with them.
Yep, it's in the chat.
You're gonna see, bruh, they fighting for resources for their goddamn team.
That's right.
We gotta fight for resources for our team. But our team is splintered into so many tribal factions. So the race of ethnic groups, we have no comprehension. Because the Negro like to say, I'm part Cherokee. I'm part Irish. I mean, we just confused. But this is a race for resources
right.
by the various ethnic groups. So when you hear somebody say, there's just one race, well, technically that's correct, in that it's one goddamn race to determine the resources, but it's multiple groups in the goddamn race.
Right.
You just don't know you in a goddamn race for the goddamn resources. And you want everybody to be fair with your stupid ass, and they ain't, because they're going to fight for their team.
Yep, they got their own squad. They got their own team, and they study the race. They train for the race. They practice for the race, and oftentimes, you know, everybody wins except us because we're not even like I said, we're not even on the track. Hell, we might not even be in the goddamn stadium. All right, excuse my French. All right, next question as relates to definitions. What is gentrification? And I know gentrification, you know, used properly can be a tool for us, but as it relates to how it's used against us, what is gentrification?
Another goddamn misused term. All gentrification really is the revitalization of an area. But there are, as I define it, 3 types of gentrification. There are 3 ways that you can revitalize a particular area. You can do what I call intra or self-gentrification. Well, that means you and your people revitalize your area, put your nickels, dimes, quarters, dollars together, leverage other money so you can revitalize that particular area. And so that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
Again, it's revitalization. Number 2, you can do gentrification or cooperative gentrification with another ethnic group, primarily some well-intentioned, possibly white folks, who now want to come into your area. They have resources, and you partnership with them to now have an equitable amount of money being made by both parties. And then thirdly, and this is the gentrification that gets the real attention, and that's oppressor gentrification or enemy gentrification. And that's the revitalization that goes on when white folks come into an area, jack up the prices, move the people, poor people, primarily middle income, out of the area so they can bring upscale housing development to that particular area. And now you'll see that area go from crime-riddled streets and overnight to goddamn very safe neighborhoods. And the best example I can give is in Atlanta, over by the AU Center. I went there a few years back, and it was like 11, 12 at night. And white folks was walking with dogs. I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like back in the 80s and 90s, they would got stabbed in the eye. You know, and the damn dog would have got stolen. But now it's like they feel comfortable like a mug.
And it's always strange to see white people in areas when they weren't always there. Always strange to see that.
Oh man, hey, man, if you haven't been to Atlanta, I'm telling you, if you're on MLK, if you're on MLK in Atlanta in the AU Center, yo man, that damn Mercedes Dome, to money, when I tell you that is one architectural engineering marvel, it's almost like it's outer galactic. But they put all of these things right there in the heart of the
Black community.
That whole HBCU zone. But now that's partly gentrification, but it's really been cooperative because a lot of our people have actually, rocked and rolled there. And in Houston, to money, y'all have that going on in the third ward.
For sure.
Y'all have that going on in the third ward.
Yeah.
And if you think those white folks are just putting up those nice ass cribs around the turkey leg hood.
That's right.
Man, them Negroes about to be up out of there fighting.
Yep, and you can always tell when it's about to start because they start doing all sorts of beautification, trees get planted, grass gets cut, it starts changing, man. So it's real crazy. So next question. Of the three, redlining, gerrymandering, or gentrification, is one more deadly or detrimental than the others? Or are they all equally as bad when it comes to being how they're used against us?
Well, the gerrymandering and the redlining are, I mean, hell, they are both horrific. The gerrymandering would come first in that the public policies are determined by the amount of representation that you have, but also the caliber of representation. So, you know, even if there was like another 1 or 2 seats that could be gained by appropriate mapping, if there's not a grassroots minded individual or individuals in those seats, it really wouldn't matter.
Right.
So if I had to say which one was the most devastating, it would be the redlining, because at least with the redlining being eliminated, certain equity could be leveraged financially, and then you could build a grassroots team. So, I mean, all of them are horrific, bad, but redlining probably would be the most negative of them.
Yeah, that's the one that I had at the top of my list. So can you give a concrete example of how redlining has been or is being used to keep Black people out of power? A concrete example of that.
Well, I mean, prime example, I could show you a house in Shreveport in my childhood neighborhood of Queensboro, where this guy, a retired teacher named Mr. Stinson, built this house right across the street from my old junior high school. I mean, phenomenal house. It actually, I don't know if he burned it down or it ended up burning a portion of it. But if this house was located in Southeast Shreveport, that house would be valued at probably $1 million, or definitely anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. In Queensboro, he would be lucky to get $200,000 for that house.
Okay.
So now, what is that? That now deals with equity, because now we're dealing with the value of the real estate value of that property versus in the African American community versus the real estate value in the white community. So if that house, let's say, is $750,000, and let's say Mr. Benson has paid that house off, he has $750,000 worth of equity that he can now go and leverage things with, right? But in Queensboro, that house, again, wouldn't be valued over $200,000, and the same house now. And so he pays that house off, and now you have $200,000, I'm saying, in equity versus $750,000 in equity. So your money can stretch much longer. And then I remember this one guy who lives over here. I live in the Fairfield Historic District, and he said, "Yeah, Craig, but what you don't understand, see, it's not a racial issue, it's about turnover." And I said, what the hell you mean turnover? He said, well, see, in Queensboro, they're not buying in and out of houses. See, that's what determines the real estate value. I say, Negro, you out your goddamn mind. I said, that's not what determines the goddamn real estate value. He said, well, what then? I'm in real estate. I said, I don't give a damn. Negro, goddamn white folks determine the goddamn real estate value. That's the part of the redlining, oh dumbass Negro. What the fuck are you talking about? That ain't what determines no goddamn. The white folks say, goddamn it, the value of the properties are gonna be this.
That's right.
Over here, that's what the hell they are.
Yeah.
They program the goddamn computer. Who you think programmed the goddamn computer, man?
Yeah.
This is an arbitrary. It ain't no damn arbitrary. It's what they make it say it is.
Yep.
And it's like, how can you be that dumb? He said, well, I beg to differ. I said, okay, where we live over in the Fairfield Historic District, we live by mansions on Fairfield. There are mansions and whatnot. These mansions ain't being sold every goddamn other month. So why are their values $1 million over here, since it's all about turnover? Why is their value still $700,000, $1 million, $500,000? Why is that? And the houses are not going in and out of being sold.
Yep.
I said, bro, stop.
Yep.
Stop. It gets down to the rate, because now the equity, which is really not a real financial term, because in order to experience equity, you either got to sell the property or you got to take a loan out against it. So it's not like, real money that you can just cash out and get. But if you now are interested in going into a major business or something, $750,000 versus $200,000 is a big answer.
No doubt. And also, if he's in real estate, he's paying attention, which he obviously is not. You'll know that they devalue Black property all the time, just because it's owned by Black people or it's in a Black area.
Exactly.
So he's not even paying attention to his own industry. So are you really in real estate, brother?
What it is, to money, our people, it's like logic escapes them, just common logic. I don't say common sense anymore, but just common or basic logic escapes them. And so they drink the coffee of whatever the white folks, say.
Right.
And they roll with it and they believe.
Yeah. Okay. Gerrymandering. Can you give us a concrete example of how gerrymandering has been used or is being used to prevent Black people from having power?
Well, here in the state of Louisiana, I'm gonna give you two examples. Cleo Fields, who ran for Congress at one point, the population had shifted to such a manner that we needed to have another district drawn up that would give us another congressional seat. And initially that happened, but the white folks fought that, and they gerrymandered the district against, they challenged it, and of course they control the court. So the courts went back and gerrymandered the district away from what produced and so he was bounced out of Congress, right? That's the first example.
Wow.
The second example, this dumbass Negro female, she makes me so sick. If she ever hears this video, I really just hope her wig falls off. But her name is Barbara Norton, and she won state rep. And she is so ignorant. She worked with the white folks in Baton Rouge. Her district is like 80% melanated. So there was a plan, I think this was in maybe 2010, a plan to create another state rep district. All she had to do was agree to a plan that reduce her damn district from 85% down to like 65, 70%. You know what she did, right?
I assume she fought it?
She said, hell no. She rolled with the white Republicans. And the white Republicans say, see, this is a good, intelligent. So both of these, so they gerrymandered the district to not include a legitimate seat, but in order to do it, they needed a Negro to help them.
To co-sign it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
And let me give you one more example. In Bossier.
Wait. So the two examples you've given, it's like you think you are going to do one thing, and they say, well, fuck it, we'll just read all the lines.
And then we're gonna get a Negro to validate what we're doing, so it's not perceived as being racist.
Wow, yeah.
So the other last example is Bossier City. The only Negroes who have ever been elected in Bossier City all come from the same goddamn family, the Darby family.
Okay.
You got one that's on the damn city council, one that's on the parish commission, and one that's on the school board. They're the only ones that's ever been elected. So they were getting ready to redraw the line. They took this case all the way to the Supreme Court. And the question was, did they need to have, could Black people get elected out of these majority white areas? Because Bossier is majority white, but there are pockets they could create a few other seats.
Yeah.
These Negroes went all the way to Washington, D.C. to testify with the Klan that everything was okay in Bossier.
Wow.
Look, we got elected. And since they've done that, they've been at the same 3 goddamn seats.
Wow.
So what inevitably happens, the white folks will get Negroes to roll with the gerrymandering plan that works against the best interest of the people.
Right.
Because they'll throw them a couple of dollars and some catfish dinners and things like that.
That's right. That's right. And of course, that highlights another reality for us. You know, the different factions of African descendants, because just because they have melanin doesn't mean that they are your brother or your sister, because God knows that they will sell you out. And they've just redrawn the congressional lines here in Texas, and now there are no more predominantly Black congressional districts in Texas right now.
Hey, bro.
And the Supreme Court just said approved.
They got approved. These white folks ain't playing no games.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. They almost certainly running they're a 4x1 and running it well. Okay, so the last one, and this is a relatively easy one. I think everybody probably knows this one, but a concrete example of how gentrification has been or is being used against our people.
I mean, there are several examples of that, but I'll give you a real good one because so many people use this for the glory of our people, and that's the community of Greenwood in Tulsa, so-called, AKA Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, if you go to Greenwood now, the white business person who helped to fund the destruction, the massacre, this cracker, his family has a goddamn semi-pro baseball field in in Greenwood, and they got all kind of shops and eateries all around the stadium, and now they got a damn branch of Oklahoma State University right there, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, because they had a Langston branch there some years back when my stepson and I spoke there. I think that was 2016, 2017. If I'm not mistaken, one of my colleagues told me that Oklahoma State is even taking over that campus.
Okay.
And so the white footprint is all over. And it's so gangster that they're moving the Negroes out. They even help fund, you ready for it. They even help fund the dude whose family helped to kill the people.
That's right.
They fund the bourgeoisie Juneteenth.
That's right. That's right. And we don't even, not only do we don't even get it, we don't even understand the games that are played. We think that by marching and yelling and screaming, you need to give it back. We think that's going to work. And that's what we do. we come together annually to march up and down the street with and without weapons, talking about you going to demand that they give back everything that they've built and and created businesses on. And it's just so sad because, you know, like you just said, but we simply don't get it. All right, so I'm sorry, what were you about to say?
No, I'm sorry, these are the same people who use melanated babies as gator bait.
Gator bait, right.
Okay, so yeah, they're not giving up goddamn.
Yeah, they're not gonna give anything back. If you want, you got to mobilize, organize, and take it. So if you missed the beginning of the show, you listen to the Revolutionary Code, where we bring the truth about how governmental politics actually works in every facet of human existence and how that affects our people, Black people here in America, Africa, and the diaspora. Tonight's show is our 58th episode, and the title is Gerrymandering, Redlining, and Gentrification: The Many Games They Play to Take, Maintain, and Expand Their Power. My name is Twani. I'm Donnie. I'm the founder of the movement, Black Nation Movement, and Brother Craig B. Lee is our co-host, my co-host. He's the National Director for Political Strategy and Implementation for the Black Nation. Brother Craig, for descriptive purposes, so to help us visualize how this thing looks, for descriptive purposes, what does a community whereby gerrymandering, redlining, and gentrification are used to help protect, support, and or move that community forward? What's that kind of community look like, where these three things are used in concert to make that community bigger, better, and stronger? What does that community look like?
It would look like a BGN type community where you have grassroots, public policy advocates, grassroots, culture, social entrepreneurs, grassroots activists working in unison with the other members of the community, construction folks, other business people, legitimate clergy people, teachers, and you would be looking at that environment that is being controlled and policed by ourselves. But it starts with empowered grassroots leadership. And if you don't have that in the public sector realm of government, in the private sector realm of commerce, if you don't have that, I mean, none of the things that you just mentioned are going to be possible.
Right. And say that last part again.
It's not going to happen.
What is the closest example you can point to whereby we've had what you've just described? And I know we've never had it, but what is the closest or best example you can provide to give everybody a visual?
I mean, Atlanta in the current AU, what we call the West End area of Atlanta, where the Shrine of Black Madonna store, the Shrine of Black Madonna institution is located. That area has been cooperatively gentrified and upgraded, and the HBCUs have had a hand in that. And you have some grassroots people there. You have some business folks. It's definitely fueled by your bourgeoisie entities, but that's the best case example that I've seen. I see some kind of sort of that happening a little bit with Third Ward if you go over to McGregor Park. But a lot of the Negroes don't have the gumption to maintain those beautiful homes. They have to move out goddamn by Mexico instead of staying in that beautiful community.
And it's nice.
Man, McGregor Park.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, those big old former Jewish homes. Yeah, it's nice.
That's the nicest areas I've ever seen. That's a very nice area. but I would have to say the Atlanta West End area is probably the best case example of all of that, because you got majority secondary education institutions there. You got higher ed institutions there with AU Center. You got eateries, financial institutions, and that area has been upgraded with cooperative gentrification going on. So that's about the best I would say that I've seen.
Okay, and conversely, the next question, and I guess the answer to this question is every Black community in the country for the most part. But the converse question is, what does a community look like where these three things, redlining, gentrification, and gerrymandering, are used against our people? What does that look like? And I guess that's just every predominantly Black space in the country.
Well, not every majority African American community that has real estate value that fits into their master plan. It's not every African American community, but those that have real estate value. Mm-hmm. Every African American community don't have real estate value.
And does it not have real estate value because of redlining and gentrification?
Well, that's part of it. But if they have redlined an area that has some purpose, they may have abandoned it and then put a red line around. Mm-hmm. But they now see in their master plan mm-hmm. that they want to come back so that they will unredline it.
Yeah. And start putting money into it.
And get your punk ass up out of there.
Who? Go ahead.
So that's an example of the oppressor or enemy gentrification that most people talk about. And that's why they will be totally against gentrification, not knowing that it's actual revitalization.
Yeah.
And you can do it in multiple ways, but that's the one that they see. But in that example, you may see some Negroes, but they are not the grassroots people from that area.
Right.
And now that whole thing now begins to actually change.
Who has the authority to redline? Who does that?
The financial institutions.
The banks?
Yeah, the banks, the credit unions. Sometimes you'll see the federal government having participated in it. The state mm-hmm. government has participated in it to some degree. The local government at one point participated in it. And there's a tongue-in-cheek, keep it quiet type thing that still exists to this day. But I mean, the federal government, all of them at one point used to do it, but today it's primarily the private sector mm-hmm. that continues to do it. Because the government, they look to do some of these things. And see, now you have the Opportunity Zone tax credit program where even rich people, if you can show them how money is going to be made, and they got to unload, money to try to get, hell, they're going to invest.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what the case is right now.
Okay. So last week's episode of the Revolutionary Code, we discussed benign neglect, which is defined as a policy or attitude of ignoring a situation instead of assuming responsibility for managing or improving it. Is gerrymandering, redlining, and gentrification proof of benign neglect?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay.
And Democrats participate in it.
Because
we know the Republicans participate in it, but the Democrats definitely participate in it.
Right. So if you had to guess, you might already know, how long has these three things been used to prevent Black people from getting, maintaining, and expanding our own power base? How long has redlining, gerrymandering, and gentrification been used? How long have they been around?
I think some of the best case information that I've seen or run across after the First World War, where you had veterans coming back to
Right.
GI Bill, and
Yep.
they want to start to move into areas, and so I would say going back to the 40s,
Okay.
but
So
definitely coming up into pseudo integration and whatnot. But I would probably say as early as the 40s.
okay. So 60, 70 years plus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
because remember, once slavery ended, and now we go into the slavery by another name period,
Mm-hmm.
Reconstruction.
Yeah.
We come into Jim Crow. I mean, Negroes know they weren't gonna be standing no goddamn white areas. There wasn't no need to do no damn redlining.
Right.
I mean, you talking about it wouldn't be no need to be redline, because once the Klan found out that your punk ass was
Yeah, it'll be a red line, all right. It'll be your blood. Okay, so do our traditional Black organizations, from the church to the NAACP, Urban League, Divine Nine, would you say they have played a role in not preparing Black people to push back against these three things in particular, since these methods have been around for 60, 70 years, and I think every organization I named is over 100 years old? Do you think they bear responsibility in not better preparing Black people for these things?
Well, the reason I say they don't bear responsibility is because they're not grassroots Black people.
That was never their purpose.
Yeah, that was never their goddamn purpose. So, one can, again, if you get caught up in believing that phenotype is the defining characteristic that makes them one of us, I mean, okay, then you can say, man, they ain't shit, da 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 da. Their job is to help sell the illusion that the philosophy, system, and game of capitalistic white supremacy racism is not as bad and diabolical as it is.
Right.
And if you get off your ass,
You just tried a little harder.
Just work hard, it'll work. It'll work.
It worked for me.
Just look at me.
Right.
You can do it. Just put some energy in it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So solutions. How do we push back specifically? How do we push back against slow down or completely stop redlining? Well, you kind of already, when I asked you who has that power, you told us. So how do we go about stopping that, pushing back against redlining?
Mobilizing, organizing your team. Mobilizing, organizing grassroots team Black. Spiritually, culturally, educationally, economically, socially, and politically. You mobilize grassroots team Black from the governmental politics angle, from the economic angle, now governmental politics team Black, governmental politics, economic team Black, working in conjunction. You now create millionaires, billionaires. You take over key positions.
Yeah.
And you advocate for the public policy initiatives and the takeover. All you need is one financial institution that can drive all of the development. And now you have some chips in the game.
Right. I came across an article, and I'm gonna send it to you once I refind it. And I'm pretty sure it was about the gerrymandering, the redrawing of congressional lines in Texas. And the article, the headline was, you can't out mobilize gerrymandering. So if that's the case, where you can't mobilize and organize against something that's done at a higher level, the next question is, how do you push back against, slow down, or stop gerrymandering?
Well, you just said the key word, at the higher level. It's just like we were telling Kwabena today.
Yeah.
You're talking about going to higher levels where you're not going to have any control.
Mm-hmm.
So you start talking about going, there's no state legislature in the United States that even has remotely, I would say even a third control from a melanated standpoint.
Uh-huh.
So when you get to the state and the federal level, you're going to be asked out. You push back, of course, as best you can, and you form coalitions with other ethnic groups who are about the again, you look at my logo and you see the melanated hand connected with the red hand, connected with the brown, connected with the yellow, connected with the white. When they can come together around freedom, justice, culture, respect, and equity, and you recognize the youth with the green hand and the purple hand with the elders, now we can have some peace. Everybody got to have a piece of that pie. Now, when you mobilize a coalition like that, now you can look to gain leverage and gain some seats as a unified, culturally diverse front in a state legislature. Now you can control the gerrymandering process, but you're not going to do that just with that dark hand.
Right. And you can control it because, of course, you have the numbers.
Yeah, you got to have the numbers.
And everything goes back to the numbers.
Everything goes back to the numbers.
Yeah.
So you create grassroots empowered Team Black with grassroots empowered Team Red, with grassroots Team Brown, grassroots Team Yellow, grassroots Team broke ass White. And now y'all come together. Guess what? You all are the majority.
That's right.
You got to be willing to solidify your alignment on the elements of freedom, justice, culture, respect, and equity. Yeah. And again, train the youth with the green hand, and then protect
the purple hand.
The elders with the purple hand.
That's right. That's right.
There is no other way you're gonna do it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I in my head, I'm thinking about the pseudo solutions that we've talked about time and time again, from the freedom papers to the sovereign status to religiosity to trying to run away, and it all comes back to a local mobilization, organization, political activity, control the numbers. Everything goes back to that, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. Yeah. And the beauty of that is possible. Everything else is a fantasy that's been proven to be incorrect and wrong. and we consistently ignore the proof. So
and that's why I just go back to the case analyses on any of these folks who try to talk fairy tales and idealism with me. And I love when they ask me, well, why is it taking you so long to because of retarded ass people like you?
Yeah, because you slow down the process.
Because goddamn, we are the world dreaming ass people like your ass.
Right. I can only go as fast as you need because I'm ready to move.
Okay, so you make it harder, but guess what? I got time, I got patience, and I got my voodoo dolls kicking your ass every night. Hoping your goddamn ass fall out. Damn, break your goddamn head.
That's right. All right, so the last question, I'm assuming the answer is going to be the same, but I got to ask, since I asked the other two, how do we push back against a slowdown, stop gentrification? The one that's used against us has to be the same answer as far as local mobilization, organization, team Black, rocking and rolling.
Exactly, because you got to have resources in order to stop that, and you got to have political strength in order to stop that. Look, brother, when the Creator blessed me to create the 6 pillars of empowerment, everything, individually and collectively, revolves around those 6 things. Period.
Yeah.
If you don't have the first 2, all of the negative elements in your neighborhood community, city, parish, county, and state revolve around those two, no spirituality and no organic right culture. That now produces all of your negative ailments. If you have spirituality and organic right culture, now that produces all of your solutions for the unity, the elimination of the tribalism, the mobilization, the organization, the elimination of goddamn violent crime, the elimination of high school dropouts, the elimination of school to prison pipeline, the elimination of homosexuality, elimination of pedophilia. Why? Because now you have an ethical and moral compass that guides you in the direction of right living. See, if you got spirituality and organic right culture, boom, your issues go away. If you ain't got spirituality and organic right culture, your shit is gonna increase. You gotta have those two in order to now what? Embrace education, and you gotta have education in order to do what? Economics, socioeconomics, and in order to control the political process.
Right. All right. So at some point we're going to have a deeper conversation and discussion about the 6 pillars, and specifically bringing them into fruition, as well as concrete 1, 2, 3 step process to make them happen and make them a reality, because of course that's important. Last question. You have the power, you have a magic wand to wave and make sure everyone keeps with them for the rest of their lives. One takeaway from tonight's show. If you had said magic wand, what would be that one takeaway you would ensure that everyone who's with us now and those that watch the recording, that they take away from the show and keep for the rest of their lives? What's that one takeaway?
That is that the human race is a race of different ethnic groups, and the fight by those different ethnic groups for resources, land, finances, it is really an actual race. Just like a goddamn marathon, just like a sprint, just like a football game, just like a basketball game. And in order to compete in this human race, you got to have a goddamn team. That's what I would leave with anybody.
Okay.
And if you ain't got a team, you're going to lose.
You ain't going to win. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So it's 10:04. We are a few minutes over, but we did pretty well, as usual. So I do thank you for that. We're going to open this thing up for questions and answers to see if anyone has a question. Brother Naru has turned his camera on, so I'm going to assume our brother is ready to kick it off with the first question. Brother Naru?
Hey, how y'all doing tonight? Great, brother. I agree with almost everything he said, as usual. The brother's brilliant. And I have to come and do a disclaimer, because last time I talked about the budget and I was off. I was talking about the police budget. That's what we were discussing. And Brother Craig, you were so on it. It was close to $2 billion. You the man. I need that. Get it up.
I knew y'all had to have about.
Yeah, you're right, brother. You're right. You made me do my homework. So I just want to say about the race thing. I think when people talk about race, they're more talking about us as a species when they say we're one race. I think they mean one species, meaning that we can procreate together. And I think it's more of a tribal thing that we're discussing when we use terms like race to talk about the race we're in for resources and things like that. And since our people in the motherland were so tribal and so divided, do you think that is still continued on here in America and other parts? And that's one of the reasons that we aren't able to come together, put our differences aside. How do you feel about that?
Exactly. I'm 100% agree with you, and that's why the rest of my days on this planet, since I've had a good opportunity to work in corporate America and these past 26 years be on the cultural, social, entrepreneurial track, my last days on this planet will be spent eliminating, or should I say drastically reducing that tribalism. And the only institution, Brother Naru, that can do that are historically Black colleges and universities. They're the only ones that can galvanize all of these people from different tribal factions, domestically and internationally, around an agenda. But they've never had that as their part of their mission statement, their vision. And so they've done a good job of producing labor.
Yeah, that's what they were formed to do.
Exactly. But they have not done a good job to create empowerment solutions for our people domestically and internationally. And my thing is the best time to start a business is when you're a child. The second best time to start a business is if you're lucky enough to be at a legitimate higher educational institution and you see it happen out in California at Stanford, you see it happen at Harvard and MIT, where Yahoo, Google, Microsoft, all these corporations are getting started. I don't know if I sent you all that article the other day. If not, I'm gonna send it to you. But there's a brother from Africa that has created a product, an earbud, okay, an earbud. And you say, well, what's the big deal about a damn earbud? The damn earbud translates over 35 goddamn languages.
Wow, it's amazing.
Okay? So imagine if that idea comes out of a think tank at an HBCU. Now you got all of the entities there. You got alumni who are doing great things. You have current students who can produce in terms of graphic design. You got your engineers. You got your goddamn science people. You got your faculty. You got your former faculty. You got your staff. Now imagine that you collaborate, and now this product now becomes a multi-billion-dollar deal. Out of that one institution, now we agree that 5 to 10% of that money is going to go back to that specific institution, and all of the other entities in and around the school in that city. You see, that can happen at that place. And they can bring the Masons on board. They got the Divine Nine. You see what I'm saying? All these different groups, they already exist. Although they're splintered, if you or I tried to get with them, they wouldn't roll. But under the banner of their HBCU, because they're alumni, because they're supporters, they would roll. So I agree with everything you just said, but the only solution is really to get HBCUs to expand their vision and their mission to get into the solutions game to work with those entities.
Can you give us a little more structural breakdown on HBCUs? I plead my ignorance. I don't know about how they're financed, and then you're talking about putting it back into. So who actually owns an HBCU? Like, is there an ownership group? How does that work? Or if you have that information?
So quite a few of your HBCUs, Brother Naru, came out of some religious institution coming out of slavery. You look at your upper crest HBCUs like Howard, Xavier, Dillard.
Those are white names, by the way, aren't they? Aren't those started by, yeah.
Yeah. And so they were created in most instances from a religious foundation perspective. And so, but specifically for African descendants. And so you got those entities, and then you have some that are public sector land grant institutions. None of them, I know Master P is talking about trying to control, own one, but all of them are either going to be a religious type situation if they're private, or publicly run under the state Board of Regents. And a lot of them got started with land grant dollars coming out of chattel slavery.
Okay, thank you for clarification.
And they're controlled by Board of Trustees in most instances if they're private, and a Board of Regents for that particular state if they're public. That's typically how that situation goes.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Cool. Does anybody else have a question or comment for Brother Craig? Any questions or comments going once, going twice? All right, Brother Craig, closing comments?
All right, well, again, thank you guys for participating. I hope you all read that article on from Politico on the hustle between Hispanic Latinos and our HBCUs, so you can see the fight. And like I say, I do agree that what Naruja said, the people look at the whole concept of human race based on this fallacy that it is all, a one love thing. But again, as Dr. What's that guy named? Dr. Claude Anderson loves to say, it's an actual race between the ethnic groups.
Yep.
But I do agree with Naru. That's what most people believe when they hear the term, and they don't know that they're actually in a race. This is a competition, and you got to be fit to run this race, and that's the only way you're going to even hope to win, if you can understand, comprehend, and deal with that reality. So with that, I hope you all read the article, and if you need any further questions answered, just hit me up in Messenger or give me a call.
You gotta have a squad if you're gonna run this race.
Yes, sir.
Because everybody got a squad, for sure, for sure. This coming Saturday, as we do every other Saturday, is our Cinematic Connections for Revolutionary Change movie review. Every other week, we review a movie or documentary. We've even done a debate or two. And this coming Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. for Brother Naru on the West Coast Pacific time, we're doing the movie, The Book of Eli. I venture to say that every movie we have done, I've seen most of them before the review, but I must say, going through the review and after the review, I'm thinking, did I really see that movie? Because of course, Brother Craig does such an awesome job of breaking down the movies and the documentaries that we watch. So if you are available, if you're not up and about Saturday morning, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, please check out our movie review. The link, the Zoom link is on my Facebook page. So you can get it from there. It's also on our website. And of course you can get it from Brother Craig. So with that, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Please share the link to from the recording with other people, like-minded Black folks, so we can have more than just 7 people here. Maybe we can have 17 next time. So with that, always remember 2 things. No one can do everything, but if everyone does something, everything will get done. And lastly, always remember that nothing is more sacred than the liberation, empowerment, salvation, and freedom of Black people. Because if Black people don't make it, it doesn't matter, because none of us are going to make it, because of course we are connected to the Black group. So with that, you guys have an awesome evening. God bless. And hopefully I'll see you guys Saturday morning. Take care. To the next show. Bye-bye.